Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 4 MLB Player Props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. And admittedly, guys, we need to win here. We had a really cold week last week. The vacation definitely is confirmed now. The vacation stopped my heat streak, my hot streak. We've been really cold last week. Last week was a disaster. And the cherry on top, if you guys didn't see my post on the channel, I missed the last couple days because I was in the hospital. I got hit in the face with a golf ball. Yes, you heard that correctly. I got drilled right in the chin here with a golf ball. Now, thankfully, I have a big bushy beard, so it does cover a lot of the injury. If I didn't have a beard, now, I would admittedly have a bit of a fat face, but I would have basically 2 chins if I didn't have my beard. So shout out to my beard for blocking most of the bruising and the injury. Yeah, only me would happen to. Literally first hole on Sunday, I recorded my video, told you guys I'm going golfing. Got to the first hole, hit my tee shot. Nice little 290 drive, 290, nice and straight. Can't complain with that. Got out of the golf cart, brought my rangefinder, was just going to see how far away from the hole I was. Put the rangefinder down, went to go line up my ball, and then I got drilled in the chin. The jerk did not yell for, hitting from the opposite from the 9th hole to the first hole. Shanked his drive, drilled me right in the chin, ended up in the hospital most of the day. Been in and out of doctor's appointments the last couple of days, trying to make sure that everything's good, that the nerves in my face are fine. I'm finally starting to get some feeling back. I literally could not talk Monday. Yesterday a little bit better, but I am starting to heal. No permanent damage, just some significant bone bruising, a lot of swelling, a little bit of nerve stuff with my teeth, but my teeth should be fine. So yeah, was an eventful last couple days. So I think the universe owes us a really solid bounce back performance because your boy's luck has not been the best since returning from vacation. So we're putting the last week, myself getting drilled in the face with a golf ball, going whatever the record was last week. I want to say it was something along the lines of like 5 and 15. It was really bad last week. We're now negative units on the year again because, of course, I made the decision to up the units to 1 unit per pick last week. And, of course, we had our coldest week of the entire season. But that's all in the past. It's a new week. New opportunities. We're going to make money this week. We're going to bounce back this week. Guys, if you're watching today's video, please comment FORE, F-O-R-E, down below in the comments. Say what the guy didn't say. By the way, guy was an asshole. Sorry for swearing. But he didn't even really apologize. Like, he just walked past me. I was like, dude, hit me with your ball. He's like, sorry, man. Went back, hit his putt, and just walked away. I'm like, wow. Trying to get the guy's information because I do have a lot of hospital bills because of him and his inability to yell FORE, even though he clearly knew that he hit me. But yeah, all that being said, let's start today's video off. Positive energy, positive momentum. Let's get things going here. 4 player props coming your way right now. All right, guys, first player prop in today's video. We're starting off with the Reds-Guardians game, 1:10 p.m. first pitch. We got Lane Thomas of the Cleveland Guardians under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing this for minus 110 odds over on DraftKings, but is available on multiple sportsbooks for varying odds. And the data on this player prop is through the roof fantastic. 9 of his last 10 games, he's cashed this under. That, of course, being a 90% hit rate, averaging 0.6 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. And the further you go ahead and stretch the data out, in my opinion, the more impressive it becomes. Last 20 game data, if we go ahead and look at that, 90% hit rate, 18 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the under, averaging 0.65 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. Now, he's only actually played 18 games this year, so that 20 game data does go back a little bit into last season, but in the 18 games he's played so far this year, he's cashed the under in 16 out of those 18 games. So really solid data for us. Yesterday was the first time, or actually the other day, Monday, was the first time he had played since May 26th. So the biggest fear, I guess, would be, is he even actually going to be in the lineup tonight for Cleveland? That's the biggest fear. I think from everything I'm seeing, he should play tonight, so we should have a good opportunity for an under bet here. Again, he's averaging 0.72 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. And in the head-to-head department, 6 of his last 9 meetings with the Cincinnati Reds, he's cashed the under. A lot of those dating back to last year. And although he did play them once this year, he had 1 hit, no run, and no RBIs back on this past Monday. But a 67% hit rate overall. against the Reds across their last 9 meetings. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Lane Thomas has failed to exceed 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 5 straight games at home, averaging just 0.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 5 games at home in Cleveland. So really good numbers across the board here for Lane Thomas. And looking down below at the key matchup stats, the data is even better. Lane Thomas versus Nick Lodolo. Since 2018, 6 plate appearances against Lodolo, 0 hits, 0 home runs, 0 RBIs, 0-0-0 across the board, except for strikeout percentage, which is 33.3%. And then looking down below at the splits, Lane Thomas, only 70 plate appearances this year, but in those 70 plate appearances, 129 batting average, negative 0.3 WRC+. It actually does get worse, though, when facing off with left-handed pitchers like Nick Lodolo. Those numbers drop to 111 batting average, negative 11.6 WRC+. So really solid matchup there. And then looking at Nick Lodolo, solid season, but versus right-handed batters, the numbers get better. 2.52 ERA, 2.16 batting average allowed, 2.80 WOBA. So across the board, really solid numbers there in that matchup. So I love this player prop, and for minus 110 odds, very strong value. All right, guys, our second player prop in today's slate comes from the Dodgers-Padres game, 4:10 p.m. first pitch. We got Manny Machado of the Padres over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing this for minus 155 over on DraftKings. It's a little higher than I normally like to do for my single bets. For my single bets, I typically like to make them at a cap of minus 150, but minus 155 is close enough that I'm willing to go a little bit over my rule to go ahead and take this player prop. It is available on some other sportsbooks as well for minus 160 via Prize Picks minus 137. And this player prop also, like the last one, the data is fantastic across the board here for Manny Machado. 9 of his last 10 games, including 8 consecutive games, he's cashed this over, averaging 3.8 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games, including yesterday. He had a massive performance against the Dodgers, 3 hits, 1 run, and 5 RBIs. So really good numbers there, but the further you go ahead and search the data out, it's still pretty impressive. Last 20 games, 17 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the over. It's an 85% hit rate, averaging 3.1 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 20 games. And the overall season data, a 71% hit rate, 47 out of 66 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 2.52 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Manny Machado as a Red Sox fan, but this year, he has been somebody I bet on consistently and won with consistently all season long. So really good numbers here in the head-to-head data versus the Dodgers. We have a pretty good sample size here. 11 of his last 20 matchups with LA, he's cashed the over. It's a 55% hit rate, averaging 2.6 hits, runs, RBIs per game across the last 20 matchups with the Dodgers. And if we narrow the data down a little bit, he's actually cashed the over in 6 of his last 8 matchups with LA. So pretty good run of late. So far this year, he's played them 2 times this series, and he's cashed the over both times. So 100% hit rate this year. 6 of his last 8 matchups versus the Dodgers. The head-to-head data could be a little bit better, but overall, it's not bad. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Manny Machado has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 7 of his last 8 games at home, averaging 3.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 8 home games. So like I said, pretty good numbers pretty much across the board here for Manny Machado. And looking down below at the key matchup stats versus, I'm going to definitely fumble this name, Justin Robleski. We'll go with that. Machado versus Robleski. Now, we have no individual head-to-head data against Robleski, but pretty good matchup numbers for the most part. Now, Machado, 325 batting average overall, 156.7 WRC+. Versus left-handed pitchers, the batting average does drop, but 314 is still a pretty solid batting average, a really good batting average, actually. So, yes, it's a decrease from his overall line, but it's still pretty solid. But his WRC plus does increase pretty significantly to 190.4, so pretty good numbers there. And looking at Robleski here, 7.20 ERA, 268 batting average allowed, not great, however, a smaller sample size, only 64 batters faced this year. Versus right-handed batters, the sample size is even smaller, just 41 batters faced this year that are right-handed. The numbers are still pretty good in our favor. ERA 482, batting average allowed whopping 324. We love to see that. WOBA 349. Pretty good matchup for the most part. Again, not the best matchup of all time, but seems to be a pretty solid player prop. And again, minus 155, a little high in terms of the odds, but I still think it's worth taking a chance. All right, guys, our third player prop in today's video comes from the Nationals-Mets game, 7:10 p.m. first pitch. We got Luis Torrens for the New York Mets, under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, minus 115 over on DraftKings. But again, it's available on multiple sportsbooks for varying odds. And guys, it's always important to make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. It's not a degenerate thing to go ahead and have multiple sports books at your disposal. Whatever other people might say, it's actually the smart thing to do. It could make you more money in the long run. Will your family and loved ones possibly judge you for having multiple bets going across multiple sports books? Perhaps. But you're going to make some money, so it's worth the ridicule, I guess. All right, guys, Luis Torrens under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I'm going to try and go through a little quick here, guys, because the mouth is really starting to hurt. Pause, but I have another video to do after this too, which is going to be a little bit brutal, but I missed 2 days. I couldn't miss any more. Luis Torrens, 80% hit rate over his last 10 games, averaging 0.8 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. And even when you go ahead and stretch the data out, it's still pretty solid. 13 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the under. It's a 65% hit rate, averaging just 1.3 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. And then you go ahead and stretch the numbers out to the entire season view. And again, it's pretty solid. 72% hit rate this year. 28 out of 39 games, he's cashed the under, averaging just 1.18 hits, runs, RBIs per game overall this year. So pretty solid numbers across the board here. Again, 80% last 10, 65% last 20, and 72% overall. Those are pretty good percentages. You also have the head-to-head data. 5 of his last 9 matchups with the Washington Nationals, he's cashed the under at a 56% hit rate, averaging 1.89 hits, runs, RBIs per game against Washington across the last 9 matchups. Now, he's played them 2 times so far this year. April 27th, you do see cash the over. They're actually a pretty big game. 2 hits, 1 run, and 2 RBIs. But their most recent meeting yesterday, he had 0 hits, 0 runs, and 0 RBIs, which has been the case for 3 of the last 4 matchups with Washington dating back to last year. So the head-to-head data is actually pretty strong. And then you have the insights provided by Outlier, which kind of reiterates something I already showed you guys in the last 10 game data. But Luis Torrens has failed to exceed 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 7 of his last 8 games, an 88% hit rate over his last 8 games, averaging just 0.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 8 games. So not only is he missing, but he's not really doing much of anything. You see a lot of these games, big fat zeros in a lot of these spots, minus this one game versus Colorado. And granted, it is Colorado. Anybody can hit off of Colorado. That's the only game in the last 8 that he's cashed the over. Besides that, it's been a lot of zeros and a lot of unders for Luis Torrens. And look at the key matchup stats down below. Luis is batting .250 so far this year with a 110.3 WRC plus. Not bad. But versus right-handed pitchers, luckily for us, the numbers do drop. The .222 batting average, 90.8 WRC plus. So again, nice solid decreases in our matchup here. And looking at Jake Irvin, pitcher for the Nationals, his numbers are okay as well from an overall standpoint, but versus right-handed batters like Luis, the numbers do drop in our favor. .262 ERA, .211 batting average, .8 home runs per 9, and .258 WOBA. Really solid decreases on the Jake Irvin side of things. Those numbers, in terms of the matchup, seem to suggest this is a really solid player prop to go ahead and tail. And again, for -115 odds, the value is certainly there. All right, guys, and our 4th and final player prop in today's slate comes from the Giants-Rockies game. Speaking of the Colorado Rockies, 8:40 p.m. first pitch. We got Robbie Ray under 2.5 earned runs. Now, granted, I know this is in Colorado. It's always tough to bet pitcher unders when you're playing in Colorado due to the elevation and whatnot. But we're also talking about the Rockies here, and that's obviously a good thing for us. -115 over on DraftKings, but again, it's available on multiple sports books for varying odds. And the data is very strong here. 8 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the under. He's only giving up 1.6 earned runs per game over his last 10 games. So far this year, from an overall standpoint, a 77% hit rate on the season. 10 out of 13 starts, he's cashed the under for the Giants, averaging just 1.62 earned runs per game this year. So really solid data across the board here for Robbie Ray. And he has played Colorado once this year already. Back on May 2nd, he had 0 earned runs and was a 4-0 win for the Giants. Now, that one was in San Francisco, to be fair, a little different. But again, I think the big thing with pitchers is always difficult taking their unders when playing in Colorado. Again, due to the elevation, it doesn't take much to hit home runs in that Rocky Stadium. That's why pitchers hate playing in Colorado. That being said, though, the Rockies have to make contact with the ball in order to drive it out. And Robbie Ray having a really solid year. The Rockies, one of the worst teams in baseball, actually the worst team in baseball. Don't believe me, look at their numbers here. Colorado batting versus left-handed pitchers. They're bottom 5 in basically every category from an overall standpoint and even from a last 30 game standpoint. Last 30 games, they're the worst team, just a 195 batting average as a team versus left-handed pitchers. The OBP, slugging, WRC+, BA, BIP, they all rank very low in all of these key categories. And then looking at Robbie Ray, 94th percentile, only a 191 batting average allowed, 89th percentile ERA, 85th percentile FIP, and so on and so forth. The moral of the story being, this is a really good matchup for Robbie Ray and not a very good matchup for the Rockies. If it weren't for the home field advantage of playing Colorado with the elevation and whatnot, I think the odds on this would be a lot higher. I think the line might be a little bit higher. But I love this spot for Robbie Ray. I'm willing to take that chance there because the matchup seems to be really, really solid on paper. So that's our fourth and final player prop in today's video. Guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching one more time. Please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I will be back tomorrow with another MLB player prop video. Until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Wednesday. Let's go ahead and finally make some money.